Bitcoin has seen a massive correction, wiping off over $600 million in positions over the last 24 hours. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the short-term price action, going over what this correction means, how the price action is shaping up, and of course, whether or not the macro uptrend is at risk of reversing. We'll also be diving into the macro charts and discussing what caused this correction and how the media uses their power to influence and manipulate the market. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. In today's video, we are going to be going over the short-term price action, discussing that recent correction from the highs of 45.8k all the way down to 40,000. We're discussing what this means for the macro and short-term structures and overall trend. We're also going to be discussing the recent publication by Matrix Post, how that influenced the market, and what we expect moving up to the ETF deadline. Before we do get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical and structural information, and the relevant economic news. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you're interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the third link down below. You will get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin, and of course the relevant economic news. If you're interested in joining the VIP channel, you can go ahead and find out more information about our VIP channel in the pinned comment of the free channel. You can find our entire membership information, what you'll get access to, and our entire trading track record since February 2021. Go ahead and contact me for more info. Let's go ahead guys and dive on in. Starting with the market data. So as we said at the start of the video, this has by far and large been one of the most brutal 24-hour periods we have seen for the last 365 days. Off the top of my head, the only time we have seen liquidations this high that I can recall was when the ETF fake news was announced in October. We saw around 900 million in 24-hour liquidations. We're sitting at a total of 685 million in 24-hour liquidations. The craziest part about all of that, 90% of those liquidations occurred within a 1 hour candle, guys. So absolute brutality. Across the market, you can see today with 591 million total longs liquidated and 93 million short liquidated, sitting at 685 million total. With that, 24-hour volume is up 55%. Of course, we see massive volatility. We see a surge in volume. This is sitting at 224 billion. Moving over to the volatility index, we can see on the 30-day period, we haven't seen too much of a spike yet, but we would assume to see the volatility index jump upwards over here when this accounts for the recent move. On the 60-day, we would assume exactly the same thing to occur. However, it has not updated yet, as it is a 60-day trailing, again, a representation of the average over a 60-day period. So it does take some time for the most recent data to actually impact what the average is over that higher time frame period. Moving over to the DXY, guys. The DXY has bounced from that major support zone, actually retesting that major higher time frame downtrending resistance we have been in ever since the start of November. So a 2-month-long downtrending resistance has been retested. A break above this level will be very, very bad for the traditional asset market and potentially for Bitcoin. A break above this level could potentially send the DXY back up to 105, guys. While we remain below this diagonal downtrending resistance, we are technically still in a downtrend, and thus we could potentially still see a correction lower. However, guys, this is going to be our third retest of this. We have seen some bullish momentum developing. We've seen bearish exhaustion. We've seen momentum rise, and again, we are now potentially breaking upwards. So if we do break through this level, we could actually see a reversal develop here for the next coming weeks for the DXY. Moving over to the S&P 500, and not a very good look over here, guys. Actually breaking that weekly candle underneath the bearish trigger point on the higher time frame. That is the bearish trigger point sitting at 4,766, marked as that weekly high point, that candle close high of 2022 January. A breakdown of this level was the trigger for a correction lower, potentially actually seeing the S&P 500 come on down to around 4,632 to around 4,600, fulfilling this correction to the downside. That would be a bearish scenario. Again, we have 1 day and 24 hours to close below this trigger point to actually activate this move. Moving over to the Dow Jones, again, not looking too fantastic here, as we did approach that 38K resistance, which we did mention was a psychological level of resistance, an area of which, if we would see a reversal develop from, it would be here. Looking at the Dow Jones, again, this area is a major point of support. If we do see any sort of correction, we will likely see a correction into this major high time frame support at around 36,500. Let's go ahead, guys, and jump over to Bitcoin. But before we do, a quick announcement from Bitget and BingX, and we'll jump in. I wanted to briefly interrupt today's video to discuss the two exchanges we use on this channel, Bitget and BingX. So which exchange should you sign up to? If you look to the right hand side of the screen, you're going to see the list of differences in relation to KYC requirements and the countries these exchanges offer services to. The first link down below being the Bitget link, and the second link down below being the BingX link. No matter which link you sign up to, you're going to get up to 15% discounts on your trading fees, up to $5,000 in trading rewards, and of course, you'll get access to every single MegaWhale exclusive bonus campaign we run on these exchanges. Alongside that, Bitget and BingX are incredibly similar. They are both ranked top 10 in terms of trading volume. They both have extensive liquidity pools and market pairs offering up to 125x leverage. And most importantly, they both offer protection funds for their users to protect you against any third-party hacks. So get started now and support the channel by clicking the links below. Thanks for listening. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get stuck into it. Now today we have a lot to be talking about. We are going to be discussing the short term, what we expect to happen next, what occurred and why it occurred, how this move has impacted the macro charts, if at all, and what we expect for the future of Bitcoin moving into the coming months and moving up to the ETF news. We're also going to be discussing how the media specifically uses what would you call articles or news to manipulate your emotions and thus your decisions. We're going to be discussing how that was done in the last 24 hours and why it actually occurs. So before we get into it, let's start on the Bitcoin chart on the short term. So obviously in the last 24 hours, we saw a absolutely insane correction. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, we discussed a particular scenario. That scenario was a breakdown of the trigger point, which was acting as the high of the prior range. We had the range high resistance. We said if we lost this level, if we broke below this level, that would mark this move as deviation. And as a result, we would see a strong correction, potentially as low as $40,000. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you that clip really quickly. Just, it's going to be a little bit easier than talking about it. If we bring the clip up over here, we can see if we break below, I'll go ahead and hopefully it's playing. I don't know if it's playing. You can see we're discussing over here. We're saying a range high. This would mark this as deviation, and we could see a complete correction all the way down to around 40,000. We actually saw that play out, guys. So a very brutal correction for Bitcoin, and we are now sitting within the middle of this horizontal range. Generally, when we do mark deviation on one side, that does usually result in a correction to retest the lower end. As we said yesterday, when we mark deviation on the top side, we generally see the opposite reaction to the downside, which is what we saw. The big question is, why did this happen? So first and foremost, guys, we have to understand what drove this. If we take a look at what drove this price action, we can have to look at a specific article that was pushed by Matrix Port. Matrix Port claims to be a leading financial service platform. They're not incredibly large, which is actually surprising to why they had such a large impact on the market. But again, as we know, these things are picked up by other companies, picked up by other people. They are pushed everywhere rapidly for a specific purpose. Otherwise, these random articles that have almost no substance generally would be not really regarded as significant and brushed over. coupled with the fact that everyone's emotions are very high right now moving into the ETF potential approval and deadline, everyone is kind of on the edge of their seats, ready to smash that sell button or smash that buy button. So any sort of media news, any sort of inclination of a rejection or an approval or delay is likely to going to have a significant influence over short-term decisions and investors' decisions at the moment leading up to the deadline. That is why I said yesterday that we expect this period to be a period of immense volatility, as people are very emotional right now, as no one truly knows what is going to happen at that deadline. But as you can see, they posted an article saying the SEC will reject all Bitcoin spot ETFs in January, according to an analyst from Matrix Port. This is 24 hours after they talked about how Bitcoin could hit a high of $50,000 by the weekend upon the ETF approval. So you can see how they're manipulating your emotions. We discussed in massive detail in this tweet over here how the mainstream media actually works with big money to influence your thoughts and influence your decisions to manipulate the market. It is called indirect market manipulation. It is not generally considered as direct market manipulation, as they are not actually doing anything to the market to change your decisions. They are more or less acting on your thoughts and emotions and driving price action through the shift in decisions of the investors within the market. So indirect market manipulation is done all the time, and discussed in this post here actually what that means and how it's done. So you have to be aware of this kind of stuff, guys. Anything that is a news release that is not centered around economic data or substance, for the most part, is designed and pushed to you for free, because your decisions and your actions are the product of that article. Your actions, your emotions are the product to the media. They are pushing that article to you for free because they want you to respond in a certain way. And that responding, that way you act, is of course the monetary reward that people get behind that article. In this instance, Bitcoin corrected aggressively. So enough about that conspiracy theory stuff. Personally, you can look at it and say it's conspiracy theory, but I've been in the market for a very long time now, 7+ years. It's coming on 8 years now. I've seen this happen time and time again, and there's a specific pattern that plays out almost every time. But let's go ahead and discuss Bitcoin. So as we said, guys, Bitcoin saw a significant correction. This correction was developed from that 46 to 48K region, actually became just shy of that range. But again, this area is a major point of resistance. We saw a significant correction on the short term, which resulted in Bitcoin retesting the multi-month, and this is our multi-month uptrending support line. This is the current uptrend we have developed ever since 24th of October, and we've remained above this uptrending diagonal trend line the entire time. While Bitcoin remains above this trend line, Bitcoin is technically still in a uptrend, no matter what happens on the short-term price action. We'll discuss this when we get up to it, but for now, we're discussing the higher time frame. So, what does that really mean for Bitcoin? It means Bitcoin is technically still bullish. This rapid correction has had little to no impact on the macro structural levels that we are actually concerned about for the health of the current uptrend. So little to no impact. It has had a significant impact on individual emotion and of course the short-term structural levels, which could spill over to higher time frame reversals. We'll discuss in that in a moment. So overall, the correction has had little to no impact on that macro uptrend. Furthermore, guys, if we zoom out even more, Bitcoin is still looking bullish while it remains above the 40 to 38K level. If we zoom out and look at our lower level of support, this is going to be our structural support. Okay, this is our structural uptrend. Provided Bitcoin remains above 38K, technically we are still above our structural support and we are still actually bullish. If we do break below 38k, that is when we run the risk of a higher time frame correction all the way back down. So as of right now, don't let this massive liquidation and volatility shake you up too much. Remain objective, remain calm, and when in doubt, just take a zoom out. Just zoom out a little bit and look at the trend for what it is. Now, there definitely are some bad signs for Bitcoin. We're not going to sugarcoat it. If we look at the total crypto market cap, we can see Bitcoin has now spent the last 3 or 4 weeks within this major area of resistance. And as we said already, we do not expect this major area of resistance to clear unless Bitcoin is able to clear that 46 to 48k region. However, if we do clear this region, we have very smooth sailing all the way up to retest that $2.1 trillion range. And for Bitcoin, if we zoom out, if we clear that 48k range, we have very clear sailing all the way up to retest that all-time high point. So a major point of macro resistance. Remember, the 46 to 48k level is a multi-month macro level of resistance. It is reflected as the dead cat bounce high point after the all-time high. The dead cat bounce high, the dead cat bounce high. This is going to be the key point of structural resistance Bitcoin needs to break above to continue this macro uptrend into an official bull run. If we take a look at that 4-year cycle on a smaller view, you can see according to the 4-year cycle date ranges, we are entering that bull run phase, and we do have an expected all-time high at around October 6, 2025. During the year of 2024, according to historical structural data, we should at least retest the all-time high of the prior cycle. We look at this period here, we retested the all-time high. If we look at this period over here, we retested that all-time high. So overall, don't let the short-term price action throw you off too much. When in doubt, zoom out. Now, that doesn't take away from the significance of the short-term price action if you are trading the smaller time frame. The smaller time frame still has a large degree of significance for investors' decisions, and of course, this mover's trend line is a little bit incorrect. Let's just adjust that. And of course, again, if you're scalp trading, it was a pretty brutal time to be in the market. So let's discuss what is going on. Currently, Bitcoin saw a brutal correction downwards. However, it has just printed deviation above the range, and we are now actually able to pretend this area doesn't exist. It plays no significance to the current price action. We are now back within this parallel range. That is simple as that. Every validation point from a structural perspective we had prior to the breakout is back in play, meaning this area is once again an area of major resistance. A break above that 44.2k range will likely send Bitcoin back upwards. However, a break below the low range will likely result in Bitcoin not only now breaking below the parallel channel, but of course breaking below that major uptrending support line we just discussed on the higher time frame, which is going to be this trend line, this diagonal black trend line you can see over here. Actually, so let's go to a daily chart. This diagonal black trend line you can see it over here. So let's take a look at the bearish scenario first. If we do see a break downwards, a measured move could potentially take us as low as 36.5k. Now remember, guys, as we said, if we drop below 38,000, we are going to see a very negative reaction in the market, as the 38k level is a high time frame level of support and a bearish trigger point, meaning if we lose that 38k level, we could see a macro reversal toward that 33.3k level, or potentially even lower. So that is worst case scenario. Best case scenario is Bitcoin is able to reclaim these highs, break back upwards, and continue into the 46 to 48k level. Now, again, I would like to emphasize, if you zoom out to the monthly chart, it does not matter what Bitcoin does between now and April 2024. The only and most significant thing we are watching is going to be the monthly close above the 48k level. If we fail to get the monthly candle close above the 48k level prior to April 2024, that would not be unexpected. According to historical macro data, we have only ever seen the dotted trend line break on the monthly chart after we have the halving event. After the halving event. that leaves us room for sideways price action. That leaves us room for a downwards correction over the coming months. Okay, so when in doubt, zoom out. Pay attention to the short-term price action. Understand that if you're making your decisions based on news events, you're generally falling into a trap, which is exactly what they want you to do. And of course, guys, stay safe in the market over the coming days. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Check out the Crypto Academy, guys. We go over everything from TA to market structures to bullish and bearish candlestick patterns to concepts to risk analysis and market psychology. If you're interested, go ahead and contact us. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Cheers.